Hey, sports fans, PB&Z Sportscast. It's Thanksgiving weekend. Happy Thanksgiving, PB. And of course, that means football, right?
Absolutely. Great day of
Yeah.
football tomorrow. Three nice games.
You know what? I'm going to say three okay games. And you'll see why in a minute when we pick our third and long. So,
Yeah. Well, I meant three good marquee teams, right? You got the
yeah,
Lions, you got the
yeah,
Cowboys, you got the Niners, which are basically three of the four teams right now that are competing for the
yeah,
title
yeah.
in the
And,
city.
old school NFL teams, some of them as well. So we'll get into that in a minute. We're going to talk college. First of all, I just want to say one thing. Last weekend, I thought NFL football was horrible last weekend. I don't know about you. I just thought it was horrible. And TB12 of all people came out and he agreed with me. He went out in line and said the NFL sucks right now. Players suck, quarterbacks suck, coaching is way too sucky because too many guys are getting into the games that coach now when they're not experienced enough. And I agree with him. We talk
Yeah.
about guys that we think are going to get fired last week,
Yeah.
and some of them are young guys. I mean, Eberlus has only been around 2 years, right? For Chicago, he's got to go.
Yeah.
Brendan Staley, he's got to go, right? These guys don't have experience anymore. They have a good 1 or 2 years as a coordinator, and people think, oh, they're great. Let's hire him as a head coach.
Yeah. I love what Brady said. I mean, he said they should be coaching players on how to protect themselves and not be worried about, these I don't know, the game's changing because of they're trying to protect the people, like they're trying to make the defensive players not tackle basically. And it's like, it's going to turn to flag football if they don't friggin' watch out.
It is, yeah. It's funny. Mike Wilbon, who used to be a big critic of Brady, he absolutely loved it. He goes, I love Brady now. And he goes, by the way, he goes, for those who don't think Brady's going to be good on TV, I get a funny feeling. He said he's going to be outstanding. And these comments this week proves it. And Wilbon's a tough critic, so good for him.
Can't wait for that. Can't wait for that.
Yeah. But hey, by the way, we did have one marquee game. It lived up kind of the hype. The Philly KC game on Monday night, right? Lived up to the hype. Older brother Jason finally beat younger brother Travis in that game. Travis, by the way, is probably the culprit of the team losing, right? But that big fumble.
That was a big fumble in the red zone. They couldn't afford that. And then, of course, the drop by MVS at the end was also critical.
You know what's amazing? Mahomes has thrown to 10 plus receivers more times this year than ever in NFL history. And yet he also has the most drops by receivers in the NFL this year at 26. That's an unbelievable stat, don't you think?
Yeah, that's what's costing them games. I mean, let's face it, you can't have a Super Bowl caliber team that has that many drops. You can't, especially when you got a guy like Mahomes who can make plays. You got to make plays too.
By the way, the other big stat is Pittsburgh has been outgained in every game this year. It's not a first. 20 teams have done that in their lifetime. But never before has a team been over 500 and been outgained all 10 games. Hence, Larry Canada was fired, the offensive coordinator. I don't know if that's the only reason why they're suffering, but we'll see now. This week, they got a big game going against the Bengals, who suffered a huge loss last Thursday night, which is, again, another reason why I don't like Thursday football. Joe Burrow is out for the year, correct?
Yeah, and that doesn't help your PB&Z Survivor fantasy pretty much.
No, I'm in two, but I'm quickly going to go probably way down after that. Unfortunately, Burrow was my key on that one.
You're in second place, too, man.
I know it. I know.
Why we call it Survivor.
By the way, the Jets, as you mentioned a moment again, lost in a blowout game once again. Zach Wilson, not only has been made third string, but think about this. He's third string to the two quarterbacks that are active right now. Technically, that makes him fourth string because Aaron Rodgers is injured. Right? I mean, is he going to be out of football next year, you think?
I mean, who's going to take him? The guy can't even walk backwards.
No, yes, he saw that before. Right, going out on the first play of the game, he fell down when he was walking backwards to the huddle. It's unbelievable. You know what? I think that's why Salah benched him for this next game. He saw that highlight. He probably missed it. He's probably looking at some cheat sheet notes, didn't realize his quarterback fell on the ground, then watched the film the next day and said, are you kidding me? So, all right, let's make some picks.
All right.
The only game we're going to pick on Turkey Day, the only game that might be close, in my opinion, I don't think Detroit and Green Bay be close at all, and Dallas and Washington, we got a little secret about that one. By the way, I heard on the NFL Tonight, the NFL Tonight Today show on tonight's network, They say this might be a 50 burger by the Cowboys, so we'll see. But San Fran goes to Seattle. What do you think?
Well, I mean, this is a big game for San Francisco. Obviously, they showed their colors. They've obviously coming back from that 3-game losing streak very nicely, healthy team. But the secret to this is though, they have an Eagles game next week, sandwiched in between 2 Seattle games. So they play at Seattle, then they got Philly, and then they play at home against Seattle, right? So obviously the divisional games are more important. Are they looking ahead to next week? Maybe, maybe not. Technically, it's a mini bye, right? Because you're not playing until next Sunday against Philly, which is better for San Francisco than it is for Philly.
Yeah.
So those things might make you say, hey, you know what? Maybe there's a little bit of a trap here, which is the only reason why I would think about taking Seattle in this game. But that wasn't enough. So I'm going San Francisco.
I am as well. G Money's got
San Francisco.
Yeah, I agree. I'm with you though. It could be a trap, but I don't think so. All right. This one is interesting. We just talked about the offensive coordinator being fired. Steelers go to Bengals without Joe Burrow. They're playing Jake Browning, I believe, is the quarterback. I don't know the last time he took a snap in any game, never mind NFL.
Except for Thursday.
So, yeah, that's right. Just here's my thought on this. Bengals have a better roster up and down, but the quarterback is missing. What do you think?
Yeah, and I think that's why I'm taking Pittsburgh in this game. But here's the thing. Pittsburgh is a bottom 10 defense against the rush. They're a bottom 10 defense against the pass. But yet, they're a top 6 defense in scoring. Go figure. How does that happen? Why does that happen? Because they bend but don't break.
That's right. That's right.
And if you bend and don't break, you need a quarterback that can break that defense. And Burrow would have been the perfect recipe for that. I wouldn't have a doubt in my mind Cincinnati would win this game if Burrow was a quarterback. But because Browning's in there, I see more of that bending and not breaking. He'll move the ball maybe between the 20s. They'll settle for field goals, maybe get a turnover here or there. I think Pittsburgh can do enough to hang in this game. So I'm going to take Pittsburgh in this one.
What's not talked about enough this year is the Bengals defense has actually improved. And so I'm going to give them some benefit of the doubt with a better offensive roster minus the quarterback. I still think the Bengals can win this game. Close, very close. But I got the Bengals.
I also think coaching changes also play a factor in this too. I think when you get a new OC, getting rid of, I think that rallies the team a little bit. So
yeah, we've seen that. We've already seen that this year. Correct. Yeah. All right. Who does She Money got there?
He's got Pittsburgh as well.
Oh, okay.
Well, like I did.
One. All right. My Saints go against your Falcons for the NFC South. This might also be considered the NFC bottom, but anyways, you like the Falcons to win the division. I like the Saints. I'm taking the Saints in this game, even though it's on the road for first place. By the way, this is for first place.
Yep, and G Money has the Saints as well. And I'm leaning Atlanta in this one. I don't necessarily love this pick, but I just think Ritter's coming back. He missed a week, and then he had his bye week, so he hasn't played in a few weeks there. I think Bijan and London both have big games here at home. I'm going to take Atlanta.
Okay. Hey, all right. Pats Giants. We had to pick it. Unfortunately, the Commanders. Sorry, Redskins. The Commanders screwed up last week. This could have been for the toilet bowl, but the Giants beat Washington last week, so they got a game up on the Pats and overall record. What do you think?
Yeah. And the Giants have shown flashes of brilliance on defense.
I know.
They've played some good defensive games against good teams. Buffalo being one of them, it comes to mind, but New England's on the road. New England they got to make that next step for me to feel like this team can win games. I got to go Giants, and G Money's going Giants too.
By the way, I heard Malik Cunningham is rumored to potentially start in this game, so I'm going Giants.
All right. There's a threefer right there.
All right, here's a game that all of a sudden has a lot of interest because of a winning streak by one of the teams, the home team. Browns go to the Broncos. Browns have a backup quarterback playing, as we know. Broncos don't have a backup quarterback, a guy that people thought was dead, though, in Russell Wilson. All of a sudden looks like a very good quarterback once again on a 4-game winning streak. What do you think?
Okay. And this is the Denver's last home game before they have to go on a 3-game road, brutal road. So they got to play at Houston, at the Chargers, and at Detroit. Those are 3 of the top probably 5 offenses in the NFL right now. That's going to be a tough task. We saw what happened to Denver when they played the other top offense in the league in Miami. Granted, they've gotten better since then, but this is like a must-win game for Denver when that 3-game road trip is coming up ahead of you. But look at San Francisco's won 5 of their last 6 games, and 2 of those wins were against San Francisco and
the Browns. The Browns have won 5 or 6.
Yeah, that's what. Yeah, the Browns. They've won 5 or 6. They beat San Francisco and Baltimore in 2 of those games. So, and they're an injury-prone team. They haven't had Nick Chubb, right? Watson didn't play in a lot of those games. This team's just figuring out ways to win games, and Denver's not. They've won 4 games in a row, but they haven't like made that leap to me. They're not blowing out teams. They don't look impressive on the field. They're just winning by smoke and mirrors, it seems like. So I just can't buy into Denver right now. I'm taking the better team is Cleveland to me.
So you just nailed it right on the head. Just win, baby, as Al Davis used to say. So I'm taking the Broncos in Mile High to win this game. Altitude plays a role in this, I think. And by the way, DRT comes down to earth. So we'll see. Broncos win. What's G-Money at?
G-Money has Denver as well. So you guys are the same in that one.
All right, let's go to the big one. This is probably the marquee game of the entire weekend. The Bills play the Eagles. And until the Eagles lose, I can't pick against them. I'm going to say right now, I'm taking the Eagles in this game.
Yeah, G-Money has Buffalo. And you know what? I'm riding his coattails on this one. I think Philadelphia just had that big win on the road. And this happened to Detroit in week 1. Detroit went on the road. They beat Kansas City. They came back home and lost to Seattle, a beatable Seattle team. I think Philadelphia's in the same boat. They go into Kansas City. It's tough to win again after you just won on the road against Kansas City. You put it all on the field in those type of games, which, by the way, was also a Monday night game. So you're losing that extra day.
Week. Yep.
I got to go Buffalo. I'm going Buffalo this one.
Until Josh Turnover Allen plays 2 good games in a row, I'm staying with the Eagles on this one.
Okay. All right. Fair enough.
All right, let's go. 3rd and long. Who do you think is the biggest blowout of the weekend, right? That's the 3rd and long?
Yeah, I go in Cowboys again. I mean, Cowboys were 2 weeks ago against the Cardinals. They almost were last week, but Buffalo was the actual 3rd and long winners last week with their 26-point win, changing hats, their 26-point win over the Jets. We've almost been 3 weeks in a row for the Cowboys, but I'm going Cowboys to Washington. Their pass defense is bad. Big day for Lamb, big day for Cooks, big day for Dak.
All right.
Cowboys.
4th and inches. What's going to be the closest game of the weekend? It might go into overtime.
Pittsburgh, Cincinnati to me said nail biter. That's going to be a good game.
I got Pats on Giants 0-0 in the 4th quarter. That's what I think.
All right.
Let's talk a little college football. Big news last weekend. Jordan Travis is out for the season for Florida State. That might have a little impact on the pick we're going to make in a couple of minutes here.
Yep.
So we'll see. Harbaugh's out for the big one up north in Michigan in the big house against Ohio State. And the CFP came out and they moved Washington into the 4th position and they moved Florida State out. Interesting news. We're going to talk about this next week, PV, but think about this for a minute. After the results of this weekend, you could have Michigan with 0 losses or Ohio State. You could have Georgia with 0 losses. You could have Texas with 1, Bama with 1, Oregon with 1, Washington maybe with 1, but probably not with 0, and Florida State at 0. But they play their playoff game, or they play another game before their playoff game. You could have most of those teams with 1 loss. After that, this could be turmoil, and I can't wait to see it. So, but let's make some picks. We'll talk about that next week a little more after see how this weekend transpires. This is rivalry weekend. A lot of blowouts are predicted here because of Vegas. But when we look at some of these spreads, other than the first one, the big game in the big house, that team up north, as they like to say in Ohio, Ohio State goes to Michigan. 3-point favorite is Michigan without their head coach. What do you think?
Yeah, I gotta go Ohio State. I like the points. I got Michigan in the finals this year. So I mean, I obviously want Michigan to win for that reason, but I just think give me 3 points with Ohio State, one of the better teams in this league right now, I got to take the points with Ohio State.
I would say this. That made better sense on Monday when the spread was 3.5, and I could see that. At 3, I think this game is a push, and Michigan wins.
All right. I think if Michigan wins, I think it's going to be by 1 or 2.
G-Money's got probably Ohio State, obviously, right?
Yeah, he does. You got Michigan, though. All right.
Yeah. Florida State at Florida. Not only is Travis Jordan Travis is out, but the Florida quarterback is out as well. So we get 2 backup quarterbacks. This game's in Gainesville, right? Playing at the Gatorland.
Yeah.
Florida State's a 6.5-point favorite. Ooh, you know what? Until I heard the Florida quarterback was out, I was all set to pick Florida to cover. I don't know at this point in time. I'm nervous. I'm thinking Florida State still, though.
Yeah, I think I am too. I mean, the Gators are on a 4-game losing streak, right?
Yeah.
Now, granted, 2 of those 4 games were against top 10 teams, and 1 was against an LSU team, which is also ranked. So it's not like they've been playing, bad teams. They're playing some tough teams along the way. But I know it's an interstate game and it's at the Swamp, but 6.5 to me isn't that big. I think talent roster wise, top to bottom, quarterbacks aside, is all Florida State. So I'm going to take Florida State in this one too, minus 6.5.
Yep. All right.
G-Money has Florida.
He does, huh? Wow. But Florida State's his other college football player.
I know.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. He's playing the Dogs.
Here we go. We get some name games. The Apple Cup that is played in
Washington, right?
Yes. Yeah. So we got Washington State going up to play Washington. Washington's 16.5-point favorite. It's a rivalry game. It's always tight. Washington State was ranked at one point in time this year.
Yeah.
Washington the Huskies don't have a great defense. I'm not sure they can cover 16.5. I'm going to take the underdog in this game. I'm going to tell you right now, I'm going Washington State.
And G-Money is as well. I'm going the other way. I think, Washington State started off pretty strong, like you said. At one point, they were ranked, but they went on a 6-game losing streak. That's a lot of games.
And, I don't have them winning. I just have them covering.
And they finally blew out Colorado, what is now considered a bad Colorado team. That was the way they ended their winning streak. And by the way, out of that 6-game losing streak, every team they played was unranked except for 1. So they weren't losing to good teams. So I don't think they got it. And it's at Washington. I easily cover this, but this is one of those 45-17 games or something like that. So I'm going Washington.
All right, we'll see. All right. Next rivalry game. It's called the Civil War. What state?
Oh, Mississippi.
No, Civil War is in Oregon.
Oh, okay.
Oregon State, the Beavers go to Oregon to play the Ducks. Oregon's a 13.5-point favorite. Another team on the cusp of being in the CFP, depending how things shake out. What do you think here?
I mean, they're 3 points away from being in the CFP because that loss to Washington is the only loss on their schedule. However, Oregon State, their 3 losses have all been by 3 points or less. So they're not too far off, too. Just a couple little, inches here and there, and they could be in the same conversation.
And by the way, DJ Uglia, whatever how you say his name, he's having a great year at Washington State. Quietly, there's a lot of other quarterbacks getting a lot of hype, but he's having a really good year.
At Oregon State.
Oregon State, so yeah.
Well, and Bo Nix having a hell of a year too. I mean, let's not forget about what Bo Nix can do, and that's the only reason why I'm like, maybe Oregon can cover this spread. But I just think Oregon State's scrappy enough to hang in there. 13.5 is a lot, and I'm going to take the points with Oregon State. I
am as well. What's G-Money got?
G-Money is too.
All right, here we go. This one's called the Iron Bowl.
Oh, Bama and Auburn.
Yes. So Bama's a 14.5-point favorite, but Auburn is having a miserable season, correct?
Yeah, they are. They just had a brutal loss last week to New Mexico State. They got hammered by them. And Bama, 1 loss early in the year to Texas. I mean, that's the only blemish on it. If they won that game against Texas, they would be right now, everybody would say they'd be maybe number 1 or 2 in the country, right? And they still might sneak into the CFP because they have a legitimate loss to a pretty good 7th-ranked Texas team, right?
Yeah.
I think they blow them out of the water. Even though
it's a rivalry game, I was tempted to go Auburn because in years there has been some upsets, including the kick 6 year when Alabama was a heavy favorite. But I'm going Bama as well. I think the fact that you lost to who'd you say it was? Mexico State?
New Mexico State.
New Mexico State. Yeah. I got to go with Bama, and I think G-Money's going Bama, right?
Yeah, everyone's got Bama on that one.
All right. Last one. Ole Miss. This is called the Egg Bowl. They go to Mississippi State.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, Mike Leach was not with us. He passed away last year, so I miss him dearly. I loved his offense. Ole Miss is a 10-point favorite. What do you think?
Well, I mean, Mississippi State's 5-6. They basically lost to all the teams they should have lost to, and they beat all the teams they should have beaten. They haven't beaten someone worthy of beating this year. And you look at Ole Miss, they lost 2 games this year, both on the road, one at Bama and one at Georgia. I mean, what do you expect, right? I mean, going into the season,
good point, yeah.
That's where they should be. So, I mean, 10 points to me is nothing in this game. I think they blow them out. I think this is a 28, 35-point game.
In favor of Ole Miss?
In favor of Ole Miss, they cover the 10 easily.
Oh, okay. All right. I thought you had Mississippi State for a minute. Yeah, I'm going Ole Miss as well. I was a little bit. Lane Kiffin always lays an egg once in a while. Why would he lay it in the Egg Bowl? But I'm with you on this one. Mississippi State doesn't cover. I get Ole Miss covered.
All right. Okay, man.
And G Money?
G Money's got Ole Miss too.
Okay. All right. There we go. A little football action for you on this Thanksgiving weekend. 6-pack of college and pick 6 of NFL for you fans. Hopefully you win some money.
Yeah,
Happy Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving to all.